That's not my job.
Oh, we get a car upside down.
Kate McClenny. Hey, he's reminiscing. The time to strike is now. If anyone plans on catching Austin Edwards, the first place ace is a perfect 4 for 4 in this battle of the top young late model drivers in America. And just 2 events remain in the inaugural season. Tonight, the series turns to the last great Coliseum and one of the most iconic venues in auto racing for round number 5 of the Mobile One Junior Late Model eSports Series, presented by Madera Speedway, and it's live from Bristol Motor Speedway right here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Good evening, I'm Jason Galvin alongside iRacing eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series driver Christian Challoner. Sean Ambrose directing tonight, cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Bristol was a late addition to the schedule. The folks at Raceface Brand Development decided South Boston was out. We're going to go to Bristol, baby, and man, are we excited. The high banks and wide corners should provide some of the best racing that we have seen yet in this series, and that's lofty, because we had a great race last week at Irwindale. For more on the famed half mile we're running at here tonight, let's take a look at our GSRC lap guide.
Welcome to Bristol, the last Coliseum, Thunder Valley, the world's fastest half mile. A driver once described racing here as flying a fighter jet in a high school gymnasium. And after a few laps in the seat, you certainly grasp just what they were talking about. Just over half mile in distance means that Bristol is one of the shortest tracks that the premier cars on the surface race on. But the 30 degrees of banking in the corners is greater than every track out there except Daytona and Talladega. Using the same technique that other tracks around the country have used, back in 2007, Bristol went to a progressive banking model in the corners. 24 degrees of banking at the bottom lane of the track with 30 degrees up there scraping against the fence. Bristol is also one of the last Premier Series tracks to have 2 separate pit roads. Each straightaway is just over 800 feet long, so you don't get a lot of time to react in the seat, especially considering the fact that you sail up into the corners at 130 miles an hour. Bristol always keeps drivers on edge. Some drivers even claim that they lose orientation while driving here because the front stretch and the back stretch are so similar to each other. In racing, they say in order to finish first, you must first finish. I don't know if they were thinking about Bristol when they came up with that expression, but by golly does it fit here. All in all, drivers, fans, and even commentators alike all love the Bristol Motor Speedway. This has been our guide to Bristol Motor Speedway. Now strap in and enjoy.
As we turn back now to the driver of the number 37 JTG Doherty Racing entry in the Coca-Cola eNASCAR Series here on iRacing. Christian Challoner, my partner up in the broadcast booth for this series. And Christian, Thunder Valley has been home to some of the most memorable moments in NASCAR history. Daytona might be the biggest race of the year, but I think in many ways it's Bristol that helped put and keep NASCAR on the map in the 90s. Last week, we saw Austin Edwards challenged for the first time at Irwindale. Could tonight be the night that we see somebody beat him?
Yeah, this is definitely one of people's favorite tracks. Obviously, a lot of banking here, very, very fast half-mile track. As you say, I think it could throw up some interesting racing tonight, especially for Austin Edwards. Obviously, last week we saw it was a little bit of a disadvantage to be starting the race on the bottom lane. I think we might have the same thing again tonight. It's very top lane dominated track, and I think we'll actually see a similar style of racing that we saw at Irwindale, just a lot faster.
And you talk about being a top lane dominant racetrack, especially because here in the Junior Late Model Esports Series, we run the iRacing late model, and there's been a lot of super late model races popping up here across the country that have been fun to watch. But this car does not have the horsepower that the super late models have, Christian. Smaller tire, more of a momentum car as well. In many ways, to me, it's comparable to the changes you guys in the Coca-Cola series have seen since the A car or the Cup car here in iRacing has gone from the low downforce, high horsepower monster it was to your current package. How do you feel about that comparison?
Yeah, it is a pretty fair comparison. I do feel like it's a similar kind of deal. As you say, the super late model a little bit faster, a little bit more downforce as well, so similar kind of comparison. And I think it does bring out a slightly different style of racing with both a slower car and in terms of downforce and power. And I think it makes it a little bit more tricky to get the car off the corner. And I think that's where we're going to see the majority of the passes made. Really, is going to be guys starting to lose the rear tires on the exit of, especially turn 4 coming down into 1. We might see a couple of guys try and throw some sliders at that end of the racetrack.
This is round number 5 of 6 here in the Junior Late Model eSports Series. Raceface Brand Development did a great job of putting this series together here once the coronavirus pandemic hit our country. And it's been fun to watch these young kids from around the country compete. Christian, tell us a little bit more about the series details.
Yeah, so tonight we're going to be doing 100 laps or 45 minutes for the main, as we've done for the past 4 rounds, and no change here in round 5. There is going to be Lucky Dog rule and 1 green, white checkered. And as usual, we're going to be using fixed setups, but they are a custom fixed setup provided by Racecraft 1.
We are in qualifying and only about 30 seconds left, so time to get your laps in now if you are a driver out on the racetrack. This is Landon Lewis, who has had a couple of strong runs of late. The North Carolina driver, part of the Team Hornet A team, back-to-back runner-up finishes here in this series out of Supply, North Carolina, and Landon Lewis comes across and trips the charts. And how about that, Christian? For the first time this year, we are going to have a Fast Time Award winner not named Austin Edwards. Landon Lewis takes the pole here at Bristol. Landon Lewis will capture the Victory Custom Trailers Fast Qualifier Award with that lap, and we will roll on in. We're keeping an eye on what's happening here on the track. There was a lesser amount of entries for tonight than normal, and so it appears like we might be rolling into one heat race to set us up for the main, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. So we're going to run a 15-lap heat race. Cautions are on, pace laps, and caution laps do not count. And that'll set us up for the main. So Landon Lewis will start up front with Austin Edwards starting to the outside. Bear Pullmus and Robbie Keneally in row 2. Keneally's second in points. Kobe Sokol and Cave McClenny, who's third in points in row 3. Dominic Carter and Joe Valento, row 4. Nick Loden and Seth Wise are in row 5.
And moving on, just missing out on the top 10, we've got Eric Nascimento, and alongside him, 12th, we've got Jacob Potman. Moving back to row 7, we've got Cassidy Hines alongside Casey Klein, and then Cody Camille and Katie Hedinger rounding out 15th and 16th. William Cox III starting a little bit further back than I was expecting from him in 17th, and alongside him is Holly Clark in 18th. And then the last row inside the top 20 is Brody Moore and Grant Thompson starting all the way back in 20th.
Yeah, it's a tough start for Grant Thompson in 20th place. Calvin Hagee using his father Randy's account back there with Joey Stearns, Braden Connor, and Kersey Young. Those are the 24 cars that took a qualifying time. Jay Juleson and Tyler Wiggins are both registered for the session but did not make the call here. And the pace car will peel off, and we're ready to go for 15 laps, and the green flag flies at Bristol Motor Speedway, and Landon Lewis will lead them off into turn number 1 with Austin Edwards trying to keep pace on the outside.
I really thought the outside lane would have a bit more of an advantage on the initial start, but it looks like Landon Lewis had a really good run on the bottom. He's going to be able to clear Austin Edwards on the top side here.
Edwards nearly got a piece of the wall. Barrett Polmis searching low, 4th in points, coming off a rough run at Irwindale where he plummeted. And there's Robbie Keneally, 2nd in points behind Edwards. Now, Austin Edwards has won all 4 races and had won all 4 Fast Time Awards before tonight. He'd won 3 of his 4 heat races, but he has just a 10-point lead over Keneally. Coming into this one, we got a wreck on the front stretch. Katie Hedinger and William Cox III are both around. Casey Klein is in it as well. We're going to stay green. Remember, last week Race Control took over the caution controls here in iRacing versus having the computer handle it. So Race Control choosing to let them race it out since the track was clear. And we have a 3-car breakaway up front and another wreck happening down the back straightaway, Christian.
Yeah, the field's really split apart right now. We've got 2 groups of 3 at the front. We've got Landon Lewis, Austin Edwards, and Robbie Keneally in the top 3, and then just behind them we've got Barrett Polmis, Kate McClenny, and Colby Sokol having their own 3-car fight for 4th.
Car 2 going backwards, and that is Calvin Hagee, it looks like. And another car into the inside wall. Big wreck front straightaway. Caution flies, and they're piling in turn 1. It just kept getting worse. Holly Clark is in this one. So is Nascimento. That's actually Ethan Nascimento, learned after last week. That's little brother Ethan in that race car. And let's get another look here. I believe Cody Camille is in this as well. And it's a big stack up, Christian, off of turn 4.
And that is something that can happen at this track, especially if you step behind a car that's a lot slower and you see that slider there, and it just all stacks up on the exit. It wasn't clear to the top lane, and unfortunately everybody behind with nowhere to go and just piles in.
Started with Jacob Putman, who came up on Dominic Carter, and somehow those two got away pretty scot-free. Seth Wise got a little damage there as well. Cassidy Hines did a wheeling job to try to save it, and then just got piled into in turn 1, where she almost had that race car saved. Several cars involved, and with 10 laps to go in the heat race, the first caution of the evening here at Bristol.
I think this large heat race has kind of thrown people for a bit of a loop, and that's really just a quirk of how the iRacing heat system works, because it's set up to take 24 through to the main, and there was only 24 drivers signed up for the event. It immediately throws them all into one heat.
Several cars came in and took damage repair there. Not everybody took fast repairs. Of note, Calvin Hagee in the 48 car still with some damage after coming out. Nascimento did take a fast repair. So did Dominic Carter, who was at the start of that wreck. Cody Camille the same. Same with Katie Hedinger, it appears. Holly Clark has already called it a race, it looks like. Same goes for the 78 of Brody Moore. They're both on pit road. And I do show a couple cars lapped down here. Sorry, Christian. Casey Klein, Nick Loden, and Katie Hedinger are all multiple laps down. There's 24 cars that started this heat race. We're supposed to start 24 in the main. So I do believe everybody is going to start the main event at this point. And so we're just racing for starting position here in the main. And we will have 10 laps to go when we restart. It'll be 9 laps to go, actually, it looks like, when the green flag does come out here at Bristol, and they are going to start stacking the cars up here, double file, and staggering them. The pace car still has the lights on, so we have at least one more pace lap around here.
Looks like we had a strange scenario happen with Cody Camille. He appears to have been disqualified, but then the admins have reinstated his race privileges, so I'm not quite sure what happened with him there. Whether he was involved in that incident and then that gave him some kind of iRacing penalty that we don't know about. But he is still out there on track.
So the pace car will peel off here as the lights have gone out. Landon Lewis and Austin Edwards, boy, they're rubbing doors here in 3 and 4. And they'll come up out of the corner, and Landon Lewis in that 39 car trying to show all the West Coast boys who've dominated this series how they do it on the East Coast as green flag comes out. And Lewis gets another great jump on Austin Edwards. Keneally in 3rd right now. And that's Ole Miss right behind him.
Just behind him, we've got Cade McClenny, the driver who made such great progress from the back last week. Already up in 5th right now, looking for a good start in the main.
Just listening in to Chris Murdoch in race control, and he was just explaining the reason for the sole heat race is because there are only 24 cars. And it is a 24-car main event. Big wreck front straightaway. Caution is out. Kersey Young is in it. Katie Hedinger, Casey Klein, Dominic Carter. Boy, half the field. Nascimento, Cox, Hagee, Braden Connor as well. 8 or 9 cars piled up on the front straightaway, and the caution is out for the 2nd time with 7 laps to go here in the heat race. And another look via GSRC.
I see the wreck was kind of already happening down in one, and everybody once again down the straightaways. It looks like a couple of drivers are struggling to get off the corner. Some contact in the middle there though, and that's really what started it off, and everybody behind it. Once it's going, it's very difficult to actually get the car stopped because you don't really know that the wreck's happening with how steep the banking is. It's actually really hard when you're in the turn to see that far ahead of you. All you kind of see is as soon as you come off the bank, you see the entire length of the straightaway, but by then it's too late because you can't slow down, especially if the wreck's right in front of you as you come off the corner.
But poor William Cox was ahead of that crash, and for whatever reason checked up off of turn 4 and got tagged from the wrecking cars from behind, and it was odd, like he slowed out of the corner and then just got totally whacked, and he just lost his motor off turn 4. A couple of cars did, in fact. Actually, that's off turn 2, so we're gonna have some cars who are unable to continue here, I do believe, out of fast repairs already. There will be 6 laps remaining when we return to green here in the heat.
You can see a little bit about what I was talking about with the onboard here. You see in the middle of the turn with where the top of the windscreen is, you really can't see the exit of the corner until you get pretty much off the corner. Then you can see down the whole straightaway, and then you have the same effect. And when you're obviously going so fast around this racetrack, it's very difficult to really know what's happening. You have to have a lot of reliance on the spotter.
Check in on the pace car this time around and see if the lights will pop off. Looks like we're going to get at least 2 more pacing laps. I see a couple cars down there, Christian. Robbie Keneally is one of them. Barrett Polmus is the other. I wonder if they're testing out the... this is a rather new phenomenon to me. I figured we have an opportunity. I might as well ask one of the Pro Series drivers about it. But there's a hot little rumor going around with the official series racing in iRacing that if you run around down off of the racing groove under caution, it'll actually cool your tires off. You have any insight on that for us from the Pro Series?
I can say that it definitely does do that. And another consideration as well is sometimes you'll see drivers will be straddling the apron with the left sides on the apron and the right side's up on the racetrack, and it looks kind of strange, but one of the reasons for that is to try and cool the car off a little bit better. It does seem to just cool somewhat when you're kind of straddling the apron. I'm not entirely sure why, but that is something that you'll sometimes see drivers doing as well.
Interesting. That's why we have NASCAR, eNASCAR, iRacing Coca-Cola Series driver Christian Challoner up in the booth with me. Provides the real insight. Here we go. Green flag coming back out. You're on board with Cade McClenny as they come to the green. 6 laps left here in the heat race.
Great restart by Austin Edwards. Not quite enough, but he has been able to stay to the outside of Landon Lewis. He might be able to get the pass for the lead here.
First time we've seen this. Too wide for the lead up off turn 4. Oh, Edwards in the wall, they're wrecking. Austin Edwards up on 2 wheels, gets plowed into. Lewis around as well, they're still stacking up. The green flag is still out. We got 12 cars wrecked in 1 and 2. The green is still out. They're still wrecking. Robbie Keneally is leading the race with 5 to go now. They were coming to the checkers. We had timed out, so that's why the green stayed out. Instead of 5 to go, that'll do it. Race is over. We'll have to check the finishing order. It's Robbie Keneally who will get the win over Barrett Polmus, Cade McClenny, Joey Stearns, and Grant Thompson. Braden Connor, William, boy, check this out. Kobe Sokol, Kersey Young, and Austin Edwards all the way down in 10th. Whew. And you think that's bad? Landon Lewis was even farther down. We are going to run a consolation. And the understanding is everybody will make it. But because there were 2 extra cars that had entered the session and then did not unregister, they're all going to get into the main event.
Yeah, a little bit of a strange scenario that we've got here, but the top 6 from the heat will not be participating in this race. It will be a consolation for the back 16.
We're doing our best to try to keep up with it here. Unfortunately, the one thing we don't get with iRacing is any sort of foresight on how this is all going to shake out when you end up short in a field. Not that the field is short with 24 cars, just that we've had fields up in excess of 30 for pretty much every race so far of this series, and so we've needed multiple heats and consolation. And because we had 2 drivers register in Tyler Wiggins and Jay Juleson, who then did not actually start the race, you're going to end up with this consolation and 18 cars for 18 spots. So basically a free 10-lap practice session here. I just heard Chris Murdoch say, please don't wreck. We don't want to be throwing cautions here. But boy, it ends up being kind of fortuitous for Austin Edwards and Landon Lewis here, Christian, because Austin Edwards will start this consolation in 4th, and Landon Lewis is going to start down in 9th, versus having to start the main event in 10th and 17th. They're now both going to have a chance to make up some ground here.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity for those guys, and they were clearly the fastest drivers in the heat race, and it looked like both of them were really not wanting to give that up coming off the corner there. I don't think either of them were going to make the corner regardless of whether there was actually any car-to-car contact.
Green flag out. Boy, Kersey Young checks the field up, gets rear-ended by Putman. Off into turn 1, Edwards up high, flying. William Cox out in front, Sokol on the high side, Edwards dips down low. That's Seth Wise in 4th, and then side by side with Holly Clark and Kersey Young behind them. Kersey Young's got the boat anchor out right now, going the wrong direction, and she just got turned by Landon Lewis, able to hang on to it. Kersey Young's lost about 10 spots on this lap, Christian.
A great save right there. I was actually watching Landon Lewis right there. He's wasting no time making progress through the field. Gave her the bumper a little bit and able to sneak underneath. Obviously, not a good deal for her going all the way to the back there.
Austin Edwards already taking his way up to the front in 2nd. Caution's out. Caution is out, and Kersey Young is in it. It's Kersey Young and Katie Hedinger. Casey Klein, Brody Moore are also in this. It sounds like we still got cars bouncing off each other in 1 and 2 as well.
Yeah, we did. Joe Valento actually got turned after the yellow was out.
That was Ethan Nascimento who turned Joe Valento. Taking a look at the replay from GSRC, and it starts with Kersey Young, who bounced off the 22, came down and caught Hedinger. Everybody else pretty much plowed into it. This has not been a smooth race by any means for Kersey Young.
A really rough start, and it's only really continued.
So we work the caution here. And there will be 7 to go when we do go back green. And it's just a 10-minute session, so I'll also be right up against it as far as potentially timing out here.
It's definitely going to be a close one on the time. Obviously, we saw the heat race went to a time-limited race. We were only a few laps short, but with the cautions, the laps do not count under yellow, so it does raise the possibility of timing the races out. Austin Edwards with a bit of a lacking restart this time. Not able to challenge William Cox on the outside here. But manages to duck all the way to the bottom and actually underneath Cox on the exit of 2. Looks like he's going to have a big run into 3. Can he hold it on the bottom? Cox still trying to fight back on the top side. Still got a quarter on him, but it looks like Edwards is going to be clear on the exit of 2 this time. Cox trying on the bottom line. And it's so difficult to pull a pass off on the bottom, and it's really impressive that Austin Edwards is actually able to do that on the restart here. Some contact going on in the back. Taking a look at why we had that yellow there. We see the tail end here coming through. Casey Klein. Looks like the wreck started up ahead, and Klein unfortunately just not able to avoid that car on the bottom of the racetrack. It's 88 on the door. It's Cassidy Hines. We see there's a big gaggle of cars here coming off the corner. We see Landon Lewis. Heavy contact right there, and actually a couple of other drivers involved that were spinning after the main contact there. I believe it was Nick Loden was going for a spin. We've seen him have some issues in the past couple of races, and unfortunately carrying through tonight at Bristol as well. Pace car lights are off, but we don't see any drivers going double file for the restart right now. We are close to the time limit. There's only 20 seconds left on the clock. Pace car does pull off, so we are going to go green. Looks like it's going to be single file restart. Big check up behind Austin Edwards there. A huge jump from the 39 and Landon Lewis trying to get to the bottom of the racetrack. Austin Edwards is way out front. Really, as we expected him to be in this heat race, obviously one of, if not the fastest driver in the series, and is clearly going to start this main event in that 7th spot. Sorry, we had 6 that were automatically transferred through to the main from the first heat.
Landon Lewis has driven his way up to the 6th position here, Christian. So from what could have been almost impossible task to come from the near back of the pack, he'll now have a chance to start maybe up inside the top.
Yeah, he's been very aggressive. He's got some damage on the nose of that car. He's had quite a few contacts in this consolation race, but he's making it work right now. He's trying to make a top line pass work. We've got this group of 4 on the bottom right here. Looks like they're all stuck behind the 24 of Colby Sokol.
Checkered flag in the air. And Austin Edwards will move on through to the main event and get to start up in the 7th position. And again, how fortuitous was that for your points leader? Robbie Keneally's got to just be thinking to himself, this could have been my... And instead, Austin Edwards able, through the consolation race, to squeak out a decent starting spot up there. He'll start in 7th place. At a 5-minute warm-up session coming your way here. And while we do so, want to take a moment and thank some of the great people that make this series possible, like Mobile One and Madera Speedway. Raceface Brand Development, everything Rod Worthman and his team have done to put this series together and bring in all the different sponsors and support from Racecraft One. And we are excited, ready to go for round number 5 at Bristol. We'll be back in just a few minutes here on the Global Sim Racing Channel.
Your home is a lot like your car. It requires regular maintenance to keep it safe and maintain its value. The professional technicians from Home Smiles complete all your annual maintenance items in just one day. Save time and keep your family safe with our complete 18-point service starting at just $49 a month. Order today with promo code FREEMONTH and we'll waive your first payment.
1-888-SMILE-11. One click or call, smile, it's done.
Hello everybody, Kenny Shepard here from the Madera Speedway. You know, we take a lot of pride in the program that we have built at Madera to showcase the top talent in the country from the Madera Speedway on our MAV TV show. And we're very proud to sponsor this iRacing series for our stars from the Madera Speedway to compete against other top talent from all over the country. We look forward to seeing everyone very soon as we get the season kicked off at the Madera Speedway. Until then, have fun and be safe.
welcome back here into round number 5 of the Mobile One Junior Late Model Esports Series presented by Madeira Speedway here at Bristol Motor Speedway, the last great Coliseum, Thunder Valley. There's so many superlatives you could use about this wonderful racetrack, and we are seconds away from gridding for the 100-lap feature here. $250 on the line to the race winner. The top 3 get a cash prize, and for Austin Edwards, if he can drive through the field and pick up the win, he would be putting himself in prime position to lock up that $1,000 grand prize for winning the championship at the end of the 6 rounds. Here we go. Cars are ready to grid. Let's take you through the starting lineup here at Bristol. And it'll be Robbie Keneally and Barrett Holmes starting on row 1. Gabe McClenny and Joey Stearns in row 2. Grant Thompson, a great run through that heat race up to 5th. And Braden Connor in row 3. Austin Edwards, there's the points leader. We'll keep an eye on him coming from 7th position with William Cox III and Kobe Sokol. Jacob Putman round out the top 10.
Moving on to 11th, we got Seth Wise lining up alongside Landon Lewis, who's only able to recover and then starting 12th in the main right here. Next row back, we move to Holly Clark alongside Dominic Carter, and then Joe Valento alongside Randy Cage in 15th and 16th. And then we have Eric Nascimento and Brody Moore, and rounding out the top 20 is Cody Camille and Casey Young.
Into the final 2 rows here for round number 5. And it's Nick Loden and Katie Hedinger and Cassidy Hines and Casey Klein. Nick Loden's had plenty of speed in this series, but has kind of found himself in precarious positions on more than one circumstance. So be interesting to watch and see how he can perhaps drive through from the back of the pack here. 100 laps, no tires, no fuel, 1 fast repair for these drivers, 1 green-white checkered at the end. 250 cool ones on the line at the end of this race. Thank all the sponsors that helped put this event together. Remember, we still have more awards to hand out, but Robbie Keneally picked up the Victory Custom Trailers Fast Qualifier Award by capturing the pole. That blistering time of a 15.593, the only car, or pardon me, Landon Lewis was the one who captured that award. Only car in the 15.5s. Robbie Keneally, by virtue of winning the heat race, will start up front here in the main event. Have a halfway challenge presented by Raceface Telmed, a fast race lap award from homesmiles.com, and a hard charger BEA energy drink to hand out a little bit later. Mobile One, Darris Speedway, and of course, Raceface Brand Development for putting this series together for us. A lot of EOLs being handed out here before the race. Cody Camille, Jacob Putman, and Calvin Hagee all getting EOLs and going to the back of the pack. Pace car is going to peel off anyway, so here we go. 100 laps. And Robbie Keneally will lead us to the green here at Bristol. Gabe McClenny searching low on Barrett Holmes. Battle for second. Robbie Keneally has said, "See you later," here on lap number 1. Has already jumped out to a half-second lead.
Yeah, it looks like, oh,
Caution.
We have a yellow.
First yellow of the night comes on lap number 2. Caution laps do count during the main event. I just saw Cody Camille, who has really had a rough go of it in this series. Cody Camille was involved in this along with Casey Klein. Couple of drivers who just can't seem to find any luck, and it starts with Casey Klein getting turned in turn 1. And I believe it's going to be Cassidy Hines who gets into Casey Klein and starts this one.
See Casey Klein on the bottom of the racetrack there. 3 wide behind, and looks like Klein was just a little bit slower than everybody behind was expecting down into the turn there and just gets run over.
Jacob Putman also had some pretty serious damage from bouncing off the wall after.
There's a couple of drivers who had those EOL penalties who were involved in that. It looked like they were trying to recover very, very quickly at the start of the race there. Not really sure why they had those EOL penalties. We'll have to see if we can find out. Alright, looks like we're getting ready to go back racing. Everybody's formed up. We do have the 1 to go. See, Robbie Keneally will lead him back to the green. A good jump this time, and we saw on the bottom the last time out, he was able to clear, easily clear the Barrett Palmas this time. Palmas able to get to the bottom himself ahead of Cade McClenny. Actually surprising that the bottom line is able to get gone so well on the initial restart. Looks like the cars just can't get wound up on the top enough to challenge. Takes a couple of laps. See, Austin Edwards has already moved himself up into the 4th spot. Some contact going on in the mid-pack right now, but everybody keeping it clean. See, Edwards is working on McClenny. He's trying in the middle of the racetrack right now. Able to get to McClenny's outside on the entry to 3 here. Looks like he's going to try that run he tried in the heat race. Didn't work out too good then, but it's worked out well for him this time. Up in the 3rd spot now already for Austin Edwards. We got a huge wreck going on in the mid-pack. Sounds like it started with Kersey Young in the 17. Check the replay now. See, coming off the exit of 2, everything looks okay. And in the top side here, you see the 88 on the bottom of the racetrack. Oh, it actually looked like the wreck happened way up ahead. See, one car upside down. I'm not sure who that was, but heavy contact. Getting a Holly Clark's perspective on this. See, everything looks... Oh, some contact on the outside there. Not sure who that was. And then I think that might have been Nick Loden getting tagged at the end of that incident. But a rough way to start this race for Holly Clark. A ton of damage on that car.
I think we had a thunderstorm roll through Bakersfield, California there, Christian. Sorry about that. I ended up out in the woods, so to speak. Working another caution here at Bristol Motor Speedway on lap 13. Remember, caution flags do count, and a 45-minute limit on this race, so don't want to see too many cautions. We did have that issue, Christian, timing. Was that back in round number 3, I believe, at Myrtle Beach, where we timed out early.
And we have seen some races run to the clock. Obviously, Irwindale ran very, very well. Got the full distance in there, and I was hoping we can do the same here tonight. I really think that we can. We've seen some good racing, especially in the first heat. We saw a lot of tight battles.
Hopefully that virtual thunderstorm has cleared out of Bakersfield. I was totally kidding about that. About half the series is from Bakersfield, it feels like, and it like a solid 95 here today. Christian, how hot was it over the pond?
It was actually rather cool today. I'm not exactly sure what it would have been in Fahrenheit, but I think we were in the in the kind of the low teens when it came to Celsius.
Oh man, you're gonna make me go back to school here and do the conversion real. I'm just gonna let that one be. Everybody at home can look up what low teens in Celsius equals in Fahrenheit. Lights are out on the pace car. Lap 15 coming to 16. Just heard Chris Murdoch give everybody a little pep talk there in race control. Robbie Keneally will lead the field back to the green. Barrett Palmas was outside. Austin Edwards and Cade McClenny in row 2 is top 4 in points, top 4 on the racetrack. Coincidence? I say not. Pace car peels off. Keneally will bring him up out of the corner. Green flag flies, and out of the gates goes Keneally. Got a much better start than Pullman. He's going to have to try to close the door on Austin Edwards. Gets it done. McClenny unable to sail it in up high, though. Cave's going to slide on down single file now through the first 4 cars before you get to Grant Thompson and William Cox.
Yeah, it just looks like the bottom lane's been able to get away better, especially through 1 and 2. Looks like the top guys just can't get it wound up. We've got a wreck happening in the mid-pack again. No yellow yet, though.
I see Braden Connor around. So is Ethan Nascimento on the front straightaway, and Calvin Hagee in it as well. Green stays out. Boy, that was close. Nascimento was still kind of parked on the front straightaway when everybody came back around. Boy, big bobble. Grant Thompson up the track. Landon Lewis, Seth Wise both take advantage of it. Thompson's going to lose 2 spots here on this one. He's trying to battle back on Seth Wise.
Yeah, and I do think that the top line is where you want to be once the runs got going, but we do see a lot of drivers still trying to make the bottom work, especially our leader actually is running the bottom of the racetrack right now, Robbie Keneally.
Keneally with about a quarter-second lead on Pullman. Same back to Austin Edwards. Cave McClenny is kind of throwing out the fish hook and hung on for dear life, as well as the top 4 have opened up a gap on William Cox III, then Landon Lewis, Grant Thompson, Kobe Sokol, Seth Wise. That's your top 10. They're single file all the way back to Wise and Dominic Carter, who's starting to stick a nose around back there. So they start to kind of fan out a little bit. High line, low line at least. Nick Loden up there in the 11th spot as well, trying to hang on in there. Take a look at that battle. 54 car is going to be Thompson, and then it slides on back to Sokol, Carter, Weiss, Loden there as well. Trouble off turn 4. Cautions out. Couple cars on the inside wall. Nick Loden around in that one. Loden got a piece of the inside wall.
We spoke a little bit about Nick Loden being really rather unlucky in this series, and once again, this time he's down here on the bottom. We see the wreck happens up in front of him, nowhere to go at all. The 24 was already spinning, and everybody just stationary on the exit of the turn.
Boy, that wreck started very early in the corner. Seth Wise kind of rode Kobe Sokol into the corner. Sokol ended up down on the apron and chased it and chased it and chased it, and Seth Wise just never gave him breathing. And then, like you said, Christian, you talk about nowhere to go for Nick Loden. Just drove right into the back of it.
Yeah, and we've seen with this car, it is really quite difficult to hold on to once it does get tipped into a slide. And we've seen in the past weeks, actually, a lot of drivers have to really, really chase the car through the turn. We saw at 5 Flags, it was a similar deal. Drivers that get tagged in the very entry of the corner, and they're still chasing it all the way as they got to exit. Very few people were able to actually keep it straight and not go around.
Notice Braden Connor was assessed a black flag earlier and has lost. Holly Clark is down 3. Joey Stearns down 6. Casey Klein is down 9. Klein not currently on the track. Stearns is. Actually, Klein's back out there now. Just rolled back out.
Klein with heavy damage from one of those earlier yellows as we come to the quarter point of the race, lap 25.
They just parked Kobe Sokol, the 24 car. Second strike for Kobe Sokol, and he has been parked from this race. So even though it started with Seth Wise getting into the back of him there, Sokol, part of the 2 strikes rule, which essentially says if you're involved in 2, you're done for the night. And the 04, Braden Connor, is also going to be parked.
Braden Connor was already having a pretty rough race. He was 1 lap down to begin with. Obviously, that's going to mark the end of his night completely now.
Nick Loden, meanwhile, is on pit road looking for repairs.
With it being a half mile, you can at least get some repairs done at this racetrack. We've seen a couple of previous rounds, it's really difficult to get down on a pit road and actually get the car fixed before the pace car makes itself back around. But here you've got a little bit more time. Still, he had a lot of damage.
I was saying Loden just took his quick repair, so he's going to call it a night. as far as using this fast repair. So Nick Loden's going to have to try to roll around here for 73 more laps at Bristol with one race car, and that's a bit of a tall task. But he stays on the lead lap. Pace lights are out. Double file up front. Keneally and Polmus, Edwards and McClenny. Cox and Lewis. Many ways you could argue those have been the 6 best cars all season. And they're 1 through 6 right now. Grant Thompson, Dominic Carter in row 4, Seth Wise, Joe Valento in row 5. Let's see how big of a run we can get. Pace car peels off the banking. Robbie Keneally stands on the gas. Green flag's back out.
Good jump for Edwards. He's down to the inside. He should be clear. He's already clear in the middle of one.
See if Polmus can cross him over. Doesn't look like he's got the run. So Austin Edwards up to P2, and here comes Landon Lewis trucking on the outside of Grant Thompson. Trying to push Cade McClenny around William Cox as well. You're on board with Cox. Lewis is to his outside. Battle for 5th. Landon Lewis up to 5th and gives Cade McClenny a huge shove. You saw it out the window there.
Yeah, and it's taken a little while for those passes on the top line to come in. I really expected to see them much earlier. You see Cade McClenny's actually gone to the top here, Landon Lewis to the bottom. But you see the top line just gives you that huge run on corner exit.
Saw Calvin Hagee was back down on pit road. Calvin has called it a night as well. So Keneally leading Edwards out in front. This is Robbie's only path to a championship, is to start clicking off wins, but he's going to need Austin Edwards to finish further back than second. I know that to be true, and Austin Edwards just ran a 15:60 with an 8. Mirroring his qualifying time, essentially. And has closed in on the back of Keneally, and we got a battle for the lead in 1 and 2.
Edwards with a big run there. Chooses not to take it this time going into 3.
Keneally adjusts his line, Christian. Look at him driving Edwards around the track, and Edwards still has a nose on Robbie Indle.
Yeah, and if I was Robbie right here, I would definitely take the top side of the track and make Edwards pass me on the bottom. I'm a firm believer that the top is the best line around this racetrack.
Especially if you can get the run down the track like that, Christian. You kind of pinch the inside lane car off. You do run a little bit of a risk doing that, but you got to imagine Robbie probably trusts Austin Edwards pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. If there's one guy that you'd want to race against, it probably is Austin Edwards at this point.
Barrett Polmus held off a charge from Cade McClenny, and now Landon Lewis is working on McClenny for 4. Cody Keneally was wrecked off at turn 2, and as a slow car, you see him out the window there. The leaders are going to catch him. Cody gets going, stays.
Now we're starting to see a lot more cars migrate to the top of the track, and as that line really starts to get rubbered in, it's going to get very difficult for drivers to pass on the bottom.
Edwards has laid off of Keneally here a little bit, and I wonder if that's Austin saving his tires, or if they've just worn down to the point where he can't do anything with the one car right.
Thinking that it's probably that he's trying to save a little bit. It looked like he pushed really quite hard to start with, and then there was a lap where he just really wound the pace off, and I got to think that he's decided that there's not much point in trying to force the issue at this point of the race. He's really got no advantage over Keneally. Everybody's very equal on tires. We haven't really had a very long run until this point of the race, and obviously it looked like the pass wasn't going to happen on the bottom, so just why not try and see if you can ride a little bit, save something, then come back at the end of the race.
Caution flag is out on lap 43. And I think Grant Thompson was in this. Grant Thompson, who had been running up inside the top 5 at one point, and he gets stacked up going into turn 1. take a look.
Once again, get tagged from behind and just nearly saved the car, got it straight, but then had to have some assistance from the 30 there, and then gets in the wall again on the backstretch. Looked like he just never finished saving the car, and that's really rough for Grant Thompson. We saw him qualify near the back, but have a great heat race to start up in the top 5 in the main, and unfortunately now is right back at the back.
Started with Dominic Carter, really with no momentum, filled a hole, and it caused Grant Thompson to pedal the car. He got some help from Jacob Putman getting into the corner, and then, as you mentioned, just nowhere for Joe Valento to go, and Thompson clobbered the wall a second time. Grant coming down pit road now into his stall. Let's see if he takes this fast repair, and he sure does. So halfway through the race, and Grant Thompson uses his fast repair. And a strike issued to Jacob Putman for avoidable contact. So as we're working here, lap 46 and closing in on halfway, let's run you through the top 10 of this one. Robbie Keneally has paced the field the entire main event. Austin Edwards right there now in second. Barrett Pullman, Cade McClenny, Landon Lewis is your top 5. William Cox III, Dominic Carter, Jacob Putman, Joe Valento, and Kobe Sokol, who we thought had been parked earlier, but instead, Kobe Sokol is back up there into the 10th spot. So he picked up the second strike, but I think they might have thought better of it after reviewing that incident. Cassidy Hines, Kersey Young up there in 12th. So Kersey, who had a really rough go of it in the heat race, having a nice main event. Nick Loden, then it's Ethan Nascimento and brother Eric's account. Brody Moore, Grant Thompson is back to 16th now, Christian. He's got some work to do, along with Seth Wise. Cody Camille was just disqualified for the night, so I don't know if that had something to do with too many incidents, but Cody Camille's night is over. He was running 18th, the final car on the lead lap. Katie Hedinger's a lap down. Holly Clark is 3 back. Joey Stearns is 6 back. Casey Klein is 9 back. Calvin Hagee out of the race along with Braden Connor as we double up here and get ready to bring them back to green. There will be 52 laps left here at Bristol Motor Speedway, and we're also just about to the halfway point here on the timer in the session. So as long as we get another nice green flag run, we should be okay.
Definitely looks like we could get this done in the lap limit rather than the time limit tonight. It's going to be interesting to see if Austin Edwards has anything for Robbie Keneally in the second half of the race.
Pace car off. Keneally with the green flag. Can he clear Edwards? That's going to be key on the restart. Looks like he's done it for now and immediately slides up in front of the 18. And look at Robbie Keneally driving with both eyes in the rearview mirror right now as the top 2 have pulled away from Holmes, Lewis, and Cade McClenny. That's your top 5. Landon Lewis picks up the spot on the restart as we come around and 1 lap from halfway. Caution flies again and a wreck off of turn 4. And Grant Thompson's in it again along with Ethan Nascimento. Boy, Ethan Nascimento goes for a wild ride here.
Grant Thompson here is taking his fast repair with a clean car, and I don't think it's going to look so clean at the end of this. I'm running in the top line.
I think that might do it for Grant Thompson's night.
Yeah, that's definitely going to do it.
And Nascimento go barrel rolling in that one. And there was another car who was late to that one and involved, had nowhere to go and ran into Grant Thompson, and that is Joey Stern. On board with Nascimento, and this one's going to hurt, folks.
See him losing the rear of the car, snaps back right into the path of Grant Thompson, and Thompson just nowhere to go and flips Nascimento over.
Well, we are halfway, and that means Robbie Keneally will pick up the award. The halfway challenge presented by Race Face Telmet. Of course, Race Face brand development on the racing side of things, helping us organize this series here. Race Face Telmet jumping in with the halfway award challenge, and it's Robbie Keneally in the one car, the Wiley X entry. Family's got tie-ins to Wiley X Sunglasses Company. It's a great family from out west. Younger brother and a younger sister who race as well in the Mini Cup division out at Madera Speedway. Mom and dad are the pit crew. It's your true home track racing success story. See that family rolling to the track with 3 race cars and compete for wins in multiple divisions. And Robbie doing a great job here in the virtual series as well. Trying to be the first driver to knock off Austin Edwards. He's been the only driver that seems to have had Edwards' number this year. Although we take you back to 5 flags when it looked like Jaden Walbridge was on his way to a victory. And then the last lap crash there, and Austin Edwards was able to slice and dice his way through the field and pick up that victory. But it's been Keneally who consistently has been the second quickest car in this series. And tonight he's been able to keep Edwards at bay.
And he really has had a lock on that second spot. As you say, he's been consistently unfortunately the second best in the series to Austin Edwards. But tonight it looks like it's going to be really, really difficult for Edwards to get by him, especially now Keneally's been running that top side. And I saw on that last restart we had, looked like Edwards tried to get underneath him in 3 and 4 and just lost the nose on the exit of 4 and wasn't able to get any drive off. So I do think it's going to be very, very difficult for Edwards to get this lead.
Lights are out. A lot of this, I think, is going to have to do with how well Keneally can get the restart jump on Austin Edwards. I've noticed everybody pretty much tonight, Christian, has been waiting for the green flag to come out. And we talked about that last week where Austin Edwards had that big jump on the final restart and said he was under the impression the rule was that the leader controlled the restarts, and that's what was announced towards the end of the race. Seemed to have maybe been some confusion, and I wonder if that's gone back because, again, Keneally waits and waits, and Austin Edwards timed it perfect this time. And look at Landon Lewis trying to push Austin Edwards as well. Keneally, though, got a great run, and here's Polmus as well. Austin Edwards had his chance, Christian, and it looked like he missed 1 and 2.
Yeah, that was kind of strange. I really expected Edwards to have a good shot going into 3 there. I thought it was certain that he was going to be to Keneally's outside when they got to the backstretch, but it just looks like the bottom lane can get away very, very well through 1 and 2. I would assume it's with the lower powered car. The top line just can't get the run it needs.
Landon Lewis settles into 3rd right now. They were nearly 3 wide behind him for 4th. Polmus, Cox up top. Cabe McClenny, that's the bright yellow Dovitz car with the black hood stuck on the bottom. And here comes Jacob Putman up into the action as well. Meanwhile, Landon Lewis does not want to ride behind Austin Edwards. Look at him searching low on the 18 car for 2nd.
Yeah, there's no love lost between this pair either. We saw that big incident between the two of them in the heat race. Similar kind of deal, both of them trying to have a side-by-side race coming to the flag, and looks like Landon Lewis had to recover the furthest out of the 2 drivers, and it's fallen back a little bit now. We see Austin Edwards all over the back of Keneally into 3.
Looked like Lewis might have scraped the wall a couple laps ago, and boy, Austin Edwards is all over the rear spoiler of that number 1 car as you ride on board the orange car. He might have got into him. Bump and run time here at Bristol. 39 laps to go and a battle for the lead. Edwards sends it in. Keneally with the run. They touch. Edwards hangs on. Boy, that could have...
Yeah, it looked like Edwards just kind of checked the 1 up a little bit off the exit of 2 last time there, but as you saw, it's so difficult to get that pass completed on the bottom, even in the 3 and 4 end of the track, where it should be a little bit easier actually to pull that slider on the bottom.
That's allowed Landon Lewis to close back in. Polmus there as well now. 37 laps left at Bristol. Edwards has another run down the hill off 4. Lewis way down low, trying to make the inside line work here, Christian.
I think this is really just a test of how strong Keneally is mentally, because I really think if he just runs the top, it's not going to be possible for Edwards to pass him, but he has to make no mistakes when he's running up there. His best bet right now is that Lewis can get to the back of Edwards and start making his life difficult.
On board Wounded Warrior Project 39 car of Landon Lewis, North Carolina drivers. Austin Edwards looks like Talladega bump drafting here at Bristol as he pushes the one down the straight. Trouble, back straightaway, caution. Caution flies here on lap 66. Ethan Nascimento's around again. Ethan Nascimento in turn 1 and 2 got together with Seth Wise, and that's what brought this one out. Boy, Seth Wise just got sideways and plowed up into Nascimento, and that's what caused that one. I think Ethan's night might be over here.
So I'm pointing
Seth
the wrong way
Wise
on
on
the
pit
apron.
road. Seth Wise has had some connection issues on and off here. Boy, that must be a Bakersfield thing. I'm telling you. I was making a joke earlier about the thunderstorm, but maybe I need to walk outside, Christian.
Yeah, maybe there's something to that.
So we'll have less than 40 to go. Less than 30 to go, I should say, when the green flag flies again here at Bristol. Seth Wise has called it a night. And so the runner-up in the Madera Speedway 5150 Energy Drink Series last year in the championship standings and a race winner retires, as does Joey Stearns now.
I think this is a great opportunity for Landon Lewis to actually try and make a pass on Austin Edwards on this restart. Again, we've seen that top line through 1 and 2 just isn't as strong as the bottom the first time they come through there, and I think Lewis, if he can stay close to Keneally, has possibly got a chance to sneak by Edwards here.
Continue to pace, the lights out on the pace car. And Robbie Keneally and Austin Edwards will have a chance to go at it again. Keep an eye on Landon Lewis in that black and green 39 car back there in P3. Feels like he's one good restart away from really making something happen. Pace car peels off. Let's see. Keneally, green flag out. Keneally gets a better start this time. Boy, but then it's almost like he missed a shift, and look at Lewis trying to push Robbie into turn 1. Landon Lewis inside of Austin Edwards. Can he clear him up off of 2? Not quite. Edwards able to keep a bumper on him. Lewis drives it down on the bottom. Edwards trying to close the hole. Landon Lewis takes over P2, and now he can slide up in front of Edwards, and he does. Landon Lewis shuts the door, Christian.
Edwards gave him a lot of space right there. I actually think Edwards got in the wall coming down the front stretch off of 4, and I think that's what gave Lewis just the momentum he needed, and now he's going to get to work on Keneally. Straight to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to pull that slider.
They're 3 wide, farther back. You see it out of the corner with Carter, Putman, and McClenny, I should say. They finally got that sorted out, and Landon Lewis looking for the lead now, trying to use that inside line.
See, Keneally's just doing enough to stop them clearing him on corner exit with those sliders, and I think it's quite an interesting risk that's going on here, because if the yellow comes out in one of those slight moments where Lewis or Edwards is ahead, as again Lewis tries the slider, it could actually go against Keneally here, but if it stays green, I think the advantage is definitely with the 1 car.
24 laps to go. Keneally moves down a little bit to take the angle away from Lewis. And it works, and Lewis checks up Edwards. Edwards might have scraped the wall there, trying not to run over the 39.
39 coming again with a run on the 1, looking to the bottom, I think. Yep, there we go. All the way down, nearly on the apron, but again, not clear.
He's going to try it in 3 and 4. Keneally again able to hold on, but Lewis is going to lead at the line. Landon Lewis does have some dirt experience. Trying to use that here and throw a slide job. Will he get it done this time?
Realized. I think he has. I think he's clear. He is.
Keneally got it for the wall. Landon Lewis, the new leader. And now Keneally might have to try the crossover with 20 to go this time. Here he goes. Look at this. Didn't work. In fact, it cost Keneally a ton of time.
Yeah, and I think that's where Lewis keep trying that move, and Austin Edwards as well keep trying that move, as gave them more experience in terms of how the car reacts when they go down there. Whereas Keneally's around the top the entire night. He really doesn't know how his car handles when he tries to pull those moves.
Boy, meanwhile, out of nowhere, Nick Loden's up to 4th, and he just blew by Barrett Pullman. Boy, Loden is flying, Christian, almost to the point. Not to speculate, but I wonder if Nick Loden took tires at some point, because he is the fastest car on the track by a mile, and you're not supposed to have taken tires. And you can see out the hood, he's even got some damage, but he is blazing through the...
Yeah, he's nearly got 3/4 of a tenth on everybody right now. As you see Edwards at the windshield there trying to make that bottom work again, not quite able to get by on Keneally. But we have said about Nick Loden, he's got a lot of pace. He's just not been able to really get anything happen as the yellow comes out.
Caution flies with 16 to go. Oh, and did this happen near the front with Pullman and McClenny right behind these guys? I think it might have. Oh, it sure did. Boy, the battle for 3rd in points becomes a wreck, and it actually starts with Pullman and Putman, it looks. Happen off of turn 2.
See McClenny on the bottom line here. Ooh, some interesting contact there right on the exit of 2, and sends both cars hard down into the inside wall.
Oh,
the McClenny's hit many times afterwards.
Seth Wise comes piling in there at the end. That almost looked like it might have been netcode contact on the bottom there, Christian. That was kind of weird the way that Pullman's car just snapped up.
Yeah, it definitely did look like that. As you say, Pullman's car on the exit, it did look like there was space, and all of a sudden Pullman had a huge wobble, and I don't think it was anything that he did himself. I definitely think that there could have been some netcode there, and that does have a bit of a tendency to kind of bring cars together, so to speak, and unfortunately both of them into the inside wall.
We're going to be close to 10 laps to go when this caution ends. Especially as the lights stay on this time around, Christian.
Yeah, I think it's firmly advantage to Landon Lewis right now. Obviously, Austin Edwards is going to have an opportunity on Keneally. We've seen that bottom line. Might be able to sneak by and take that second spot and then see if he can do anything against Landon Lewis. I think the question mark really is Nick Loden and whether he's going to be able to do anything. He has been in pit lane once this race. Whether he did take tires or not, we don't know, but he definitely looks very, very quick right now.
Gabe McClenny was given a strike for avoidable contact there with Barrett Pullman, so the next one would end his night. And again, that's important because of the points implications. It's also important to note that McClenny, he had not used his fast repair yet, but he's still on pit road. He just came off losing laps, so I think Gabe had to take a tow, and that's going to be very costly. He's now 4 laps back of the leader, so it's a big chance for Barrett Pullman to jump around McClenny now. Lights are out. And here we go. Pullman took his fast repair, by the way. He's in 11th. Green flag. Boy, Landon Lewis like jumped and then didn't go and almost stacks the field up. And now the green is back.
Like he tried to get a little bit of a practice pull away right there, and everybody thought he was going.
As a result, Keneally able to clear Edwards by plenty. Keneally to the inside is going to take a shot as we come to 10 to go.
Not able to pull it off, though. We've seen a number of drivers try that on the first lap, and very few of them have been successful with that move.
0 for 2, and here comes Austin Edwards with a giant run. Loden there as well.
Edwards actually looking to the outside there, and I think that's the easier pass. Honestly, Loden all the way to the bottom, though.
Nick Loden making the inside line work, trying to take over third. Caution, and Loden's going to get third on this restart. I believe he was clearly ahead of Edwards when that came out. Joe Valento and Casey Klein are involved in this one. And this is going to set up essentially a green-white checker. It starts with Valento, and he gets turned by Pullman.
Yeah, we see already there in the 17 getting in the back of Pullman after the wreck had started, too.
But it's a tough break for Kersey Young, who was pretty critical of during the heat race. She had a rough go of it, but she was up inside the top 10 of this one and just had nowhere to go there, Christian.
Yeah, the wreck had already started by the time she got there, but the car looks like it's got a spectacular amount of damage, but as we've seen, a couple of drivers have had big damage in these cars throughout the series. And yeah, that is a pretty heavy hit, though. I thought initially it might not have looked... well, might not have been as bad as it looked, but looking at the replay there, no, I think that is pretty significant damage to that car.
Trying to do the math here and figure out, I don't think this is going to use up the green-white checker that is assigned to the system. So that means we would get at least one mulligan, so to speak, here on a late We
might get a mulligan in terms of the laps, but just taking a look at the
time, timer's running out as well.
Time's very tight right now.
So here we go. There will be 3 laps left when the green comes. And we're keeping an eye on the timer as well. Pace car pull off. Landon Lewis and Robbie Keneally. Nick Loden and Austin Edwards. Who's going to win at Bristol? Pace car peels. Green flag flies. Keneally tried to time it and missed. Lewis clears him right away. Edwards got a good run and will get around Loden for now.
Yeah, it looked like Loden was actually trying to push Lewis to go, and it really went against him. He actually lost out rather than gained.
And this will be the white flag this time. So 1 lap to go. The timer is expired. Caution flies. No, it says we're going to get a green-white checkered. Let's see. Caution flew before they got to the line. Cassidy Hines is in it. Kobe Sokol's in it. This is going to be close as to whether we get another restart or not. The server currently says green-white checkered, but we're going to have to wait.
Yeah, we'd come up against the time limit there, and that's why we hit that white flag. But then that wreck happened in the middle of 3 and 4, and the yellow came out right as the leader got to the line. I'm not sure this will go back green.
That started with Sokol, who tried to roll the middle on a 3 wide. Did not work. First he bounced off of Carter down low, and then off Putman up top.
See him here on the top line on the entry to the corner. Looks like there was a little check up ahead, tried to get in the middle there and tag the right rear of the 22 that shot him up the racetrack.
So we'll have to see what happens. See final lap up on your scoring bug there, and so there's a chance that we time out, but again, it's one thing we don't have really a lot of insight on. The server doesn't notify us as broadcasters whether we've officially timed out. I do see in the chat a green-white checkered listed, but I guess we'll know here. Sure doesn't look like everybody's acting as if the race is over. You'd figure Landon Lewis would be off to celebrate. Does in fact look like we're going to get a green-white checkered here. No matter what, the next flag essentially will end this race.
This time row 2 has flipped around. You see Austin Edwards is going to be restarting third if we do go green. Nick Loden is on the top this time.
See what happens as the field comes around this time. Still a chance the iRacing server says we're done. Gonna get a restart. Lights are out, they're doubled up. Let's try it again. And here's the other thing. There's always that chance, because the timer is out, that we get a green and a white together that we'll have to keep on top of as well.
I think we might actually have that situation.
Boy, things could really be wild then. Landon Lewis and Robbie Keneally, Austin Edwards and Nick Loden, William Cox III, and Dominic Carter. Who wins Bristol? Green flag back out for the final time. Loden gets a great jump. Keneally able to stay to the outside for now. Edwards has cleared Loden. Lewis out front. Edwards looking for second. Down through 3 and 4. Landon Lewis will lead him across the stripe, and a big wreck behind him as loading goes around. Landon Lewis, the winner at Bristol. And a one-lap shot to the end. It's Lewis ending Austin Edwards' undefeated streak with Robbie Keneally and Edwards second and third. Nick Loden, despite wrecking, slides across in fourth. William Cox III takes fifth. And that's how they shake out here at the Coliseum. We'll head to a break. When we return, we'll talk to a, no doubt, very happy Landon Lewis here on the Global Sim Racing.
Your home is a lot like your car. It requires regular maintenance to keep it safe and maintain its value. The professional technicians from Home Smiles complete all your annual maintenance items in just one day. Save time and keep your family safe with our complete 18-point service starting at just $49 a month. Order today with promo code FREEMONTH and we'll waive your first payment.
1-888-SMILE-11. One click or call, smile, it's done.
Hello everybody, Kenny Shepard here from the Madeira Speedway. You know, we take a lot of pride in the program that we have built at Madeira to showcase the top talent in the country from the Madeira Speedway on our MAV TV show. And we're very proud to sponsor this iRacing series for our stars from the Madeira Speedway to compete against other top talent from all over the country. We look forward to seeing everyone very soon as we get the season kicked off at the Madeira Speedway. Until then, have fun and be safe.
Welcome back to the Mobile One Junior Late Model Esports Series presented by Madeira Speedway. And for the first time in this inaugural season, somebody not named Austin Edwards is a race winner. And it is North Carolina's Landon Lewis who takes home the checkered flag tonight. Robbie Keneally comes home in P2. Austin Edwards will maintain the points lead with that third place finish and also capture the Fast Race Lap Award presented by homesmiles.com. Nick Loden, a season best fourth, and he picks up the hard charger presented by BEA Energy Drink after gaining 17 spots from 21st to 4 in this one. William Cox III rounds out the top 5. Then it's Dominic Carter, Barrett Polmis, Joe Valento, Jacob Putman, Kersey Young wraps up the top 10.
Missing out on the top 10, and also our first car lap down is Colby Sokol in 11th. Alongside him is Holly Clark in 12th. Then in row back we saw Kate McClaney third in points coming into this race and finishes 3 laps down in 13th. Alongside him is Katie Hedinger in 14th, Cassidy Hines 15th, and Casey Klein in 16th. Brody Moore is coming home 35 laps down in 17th with Seth Wise in 18th. Then Eric Nascimento and Grant Thompson round out the top 20.
Final 4 cars in the main event are Joey Stearns, Cody Camille, Calvin Hage, and Braden Connor as we bring in the winner. For the first time this year, somebody not in an Orange 18 car takes the checkered flag and wins the $250. Landon Lewis for Wounded Warrior Project and everybody on the East Coast. Score one for the North Carolina team here today. What a run. Congratulations. How worried were you after that wreck in the heat race when you had to come through the field to win this one?
Yeah, definitely. I was pretty worried. But I had faith and had the faith that I could get to the front. But we definitely had a really good race. And come to practice Monday, I had a goal I set to beat Austin and kind of just that was like a win, a trophy for me to beat a four race win streak. So I mean that was pretty special to me to do that and get the pole at the same time. So it was really, really special.
You were the only driver who seemed like they could make the inside line work once the tires were worn in. That was the way to go early on. But the last 30 or 40 laps, you got around Austin Edwards and Robbie Keneally by throwing it down to the bottom and throwing an old dirt style slide job. How much did your dirt experience help you in this race?
Oh yeah, definitely. It helped me a lot. Yeah, thanks to Ron Horn today and Billy Workman for all their help. They they teach me all kinds of stuff that I never knew I would know about. But yeah, we could really get the inside to work there. I mean, when I was practicing all week, I was trying to focus on that outside line, but after about 50 laps, your tires would kind of fall off pretty bad. So I was just letting them run that top line, and then I could roll around the bottom and save pretty good. And then finally, when I got clean air, it was pretty good race from there.
Landon, congratulations. Another win for you, and that's going to jump you up. It's going to be real close. We'll have to wait for the official points, but I think you might be in third, and if not, you're going to be right there in third place, the battle for third, heading into Gateway next week. Boy, so we went from Irwindale and Bristol, a couple of big wide tracks. We go to Gateway next week. Super Speedway racing in a late model. Are you ready for that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm ready. Ready for that. I've been practicing a little bit there this week, just trying to get familiar with the racetrack. But I would want to thank Ron Hornaday and Billy Workman, Candace Hornaday for all they do for me. Team Reaction, the sponsor that helps me so much. Lastly, my mom and my dad. It wouldn't be possible without them. They've been pushing me all week to get on here and turn some laps, and it looked like it paid off.
Well, congratulations, Landon. Great job, and we'll see you in a week to close things out again.
Yeah, thank you. I also have one more person I like to thank. I would like to thank my grandma and grandpa. They helped me a lot in my racing, a lot. So I would like to give them a huge shout out for getting them and my dad involved me in racing and stuff like that. Thank you so much.
Definitely a big thank you to them. Of course, we know none of these kids, 10 to 16, nobody's racing without great family support around them. And speaking of a driver who's got some incredible family support, Christian's caught up with our second place.
Robbie, it looked like it was a great night all throughout. You were the leader for the vast majority of the night, and just on one of those restarts there, just couldn't make that top line work well enough to hold on to the lead and came home second. A little bit unfortunate there, but you got to be happy with coming home with a halfway award and just being really strong all night.
I'm definitely happy. I mean, to beat Austin again and kind of get the points lead down a little bit, but I'm still happy coming home in P2. We still had a great race.
Yeah, this is actually an interesting thing. Nobody's beaten Austin Edwards until this race so far this year, and you actually did manage to do it. But unfortunately, Landon Lewis obviously snuck the win there instead. So it's kind of how do I say it? It's you did the objective, you beat Austin Edwards, but unfortunately somebody else was also there. But again, the second place, and obviously as you said, points gaps closed down a little bit, the halfway award. So really a great night, and I think that really started with the heat race and able to start on the pole for the main event. And is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to tonight?
Yeah, I got to thank Wiley X, Oakley Chiropractic, SD Plumbing, American Swim Academy, Kathy Marples, Linex, and all the family.
All right, well, going into the next round, the final round of the series, 6 of 6. You got any thoughts? You got any way of how you might be able to overhaul that points gap to Austin Edwards?
I think it's all going to be luck. I mean, I think going in there, we're going to have around a 9-point gap. So the only way I'm going to be able to beat him is if he gets caught up in something, but he's really good at avoiding.
All right, well, good luck for that round, and thank you for coming and chatting with us tonight. And once again, congrats on the halfway award and the second place finish.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk to our third place finisher. And for the first time, as Christian just said, somebody finally beats Austin Edwards. And this time it was two drivers. Austin, first off, you had to drive back through the field there in the heat race in the B main. After that instant at the end of the heat race, you had a hard run with Robbie. And then Landon Lewis just kind of came out of nowhere. Were you as surprised as we were?
Yeah, it was definitely surprising. That contact in the heat race was very unfortunate. You never know, it's never a good thing when you roll across the start finish line without an engine functioning anymore. But was able to win the LCQ and then get up to the 7th spot for the main, and passing at this track was almost impossible. So luckily I was able to be the first one to discover the outside line, and Robbie shut the door on that as soon as I got to him. So I had a little more speed than he did, but he did a great job holding his line wherever I went. Tried to give him a little bit of bumper, didn't quite work. Wanted to race him clean, so I tried to get another way around him, and then Landon Lewis managed to just figure out that inside line like nothing else. And by the end of the race, I saw them getting a little bit of contact here and there, so I was trying to hang back, see how that would work out before I made a move, and turns out I hung back just a little bit too far.
You also picked up the Fast Race Lap Award presented by homesmiles.com in the feature, and you've won that a few times now as well. I know that you were trying to sweep the series here, but you take home a 3rd place, and as Robbie just said, you now go into Gateway with a pretty comfortable points lead here, all things considered. It looks like the championship is yours to lose, but we're going to Gateway, and I asked Landon this too. That is such a unique track to run a crate late model at. What are your expectations for next week?
Well, next week is going to be like unlike anything else. I mean, with the speed you carry around that place, it's going to be, first of all, not killing your tires, but also just keeping your momentum. I mean, any mistake you make at that track is going to be amplified 10 times worse than it is as a short track. So being just consistent and smooth at that track as much as you can is going to play big time into how that race goes. And I think I've been able to do that all season. And although it sucks to lose one race, I'm glad to see Landon get a win. Had Robbie in front of me for once. It was just pretty cool to follow him around, and glad these guys got to have some fun. I always have a blast racing with these guys.
Let me ask you real quick, Austin, before we let you go. Have you turned any laps at Gateway yet?
Very few, but yes, very few.
Are you flat in either corner, or do you gotta lift them both?
Oh no, you're letting off for at least a solid 5 seconds.
Oh wow, interesting. That's gonna be fun to watch. Then I'm looking forward to next week having to wheel one of these things around Gateway. Well, another great run for you. You kept it clean in the main. You come home on the podium again, and you are the points leader heading into championship night next week. Austin Edwards, 3rd place here tonight at Bristol, and that is going to do it for us here for round number 5 of the Mobile One Junior Late Model Esports Series presented by Madera Speedway and the great folks at Raceface Brand Development as well. We want to thank all of our other sponsors that help us put this event together: Racecraft One, Victory Custom Trailers, homesmiles.com, BEA Energy Drink, Villion Design, and Raceface Telmed as well. As we talked about, Gateway coming up next week, 6:30 Eastern, right here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Thursday, May 7th, championship night. $1,000 going to the champion of this series. You do not want to miss it. Big thank you to all these companies that help make our broadcast happen as well. A reminder, plenty more GSRC action coming your way here not only this afternoon and this evening, but next week as well. Thank you to Sean Ambrose turning the knobs, Dougie Beard for the cameras, Christian Challoner up here in the broadcast booth with me, the entire GSRC crew. I'm Jason Galvin saying thanks so much for watching here on this Thursday afternoon. Congratulations to Landon Lewis, your winner in round 5 here at Bristol. Until next time, remember, the only one who remembers when you come home in second is your wife and your dog. Good night, everybody.